All right. Wow, welcome to Poly Stories. Thank you for making it in. Let's go right into it. Can you introduce yourself?
So my name is Lini Vilingia. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Oakland, California.
Hometown.
Yo.
The town, baby.
No. And
Ethnicity.
and I'm Tongan.
Yeah, tease up.
Yeah, you already know.
All right, so that's cool. All right, yeah. So let's go right into it. So, how did you grow up?
So actually, the story I would like to start with is the day I was born. So actually, my birthday is October. But the story about me is actually I was born about close to 4 months early.
Okay.
So originally I was supposed to be born in February. So my mom always tells me this story. It's like, Lini, you're my miracle baby, and so I'm just go ahead and share this story with you. So basically, when I was born, I was only 1 pound.
Okay.
And I was the size of my mom's hand.
Yeah, small. Yeah.
Yeah, really small. And the doctors told my mom that I wouldn't live very long.
Yeah.
I would only live about 3 nights.
Wow.
And my mom was like, "What? Like, this can't be. Like, the Lord didn't give me this baby for no reason." And so she prayed and fasted, and what she told the Lord, she said, "You know, if you let this baby live, I know that she will serve you." And so basically my mom manifested that. Yeah. And so on the third night, you know, the bishop at that time came to give me a blessing, and my mom had also, she works live-in, and so, or she's a caregiver.
Yeah.
And so she was at work at the time, and the doctor, you know, called her, and she was like, "Your baby's gonna live," and my mom just started bawling, but she still tells me that story to this day.
Yeah.
So I don't forget.
Yeah.
And I feel like is oftentimes in this life we tend to lose focus or lose focus of our purpose.
Yeah.
And I feel as though, just as my mom manifested before, like I was sent to this earth to be able to serve the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Man, that's powerful.
Mhm.
Man, that's funny that you said that. My sister, she just had a baby. My older sister, she lives in Sacramento. Yeah, but she had the baby, I think 2 months earlier. I think you were 4 months, but yeah, I think right now her son is my nephew. Is in I don't know what you call
Incubator.
Incubator. But he's grown. But I think she told me last week she told me that he finally got him out of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, since I was born 4 months early, I was in the incubator for 4 months.
Yeah.
So
how does that make you feel knowing that story?
Knowing that story, you know, it has helped me throughout my life.
Yeah.
Because, like, a lot of things that I went through as a child, or even through high school and middle school, like, it really helped me through those times.
Yeah, because like, you know, what's like is there like a life principle that you learned from that? Because like the way I see it is, you know, a lot of people thought you weren't supposed to be here, right? And that you made it through. So I can just understand like your psychology of like how, like, you know, the faith that you get from that, right? Like, you know, I wasn't supposed to be, but I'm here. So like, how does that influence you to, you know, in your life, like knowing that story?
I often live by the saying, faith precedes the miracle.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, and a lot of times...
Because you're a miracle.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of times, you know, man, I lost my trail of thought. Oh, shoot.
You said faith precedes the miracle.
Yeah, faith precedes the miracle. And so I feel as though, a lot of times, people say like a mother's love can never, like, is almost as equal manifest to God's love.
Yeah.
You know, because that
that
bond
mother,
between mother and child is so deep.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was according to my mom's faith at the time that I was still.
Okay.
And so, faith precedes the miracle.
Nice. So you grew up here?
Yes.
With me, you?
Yes,
of course you grew up in Hayward, right?
So
St. Andrew or Hayward?
So actually, my story is a little different from others.
Yeah.
So, my mom, she worked living, and so she worked all the time.
Yeah.
And so when I was about 7 or 8, my parents divorced.
Yeah.
And so at that time, when they divorced, we're actually in Tongan.
Yeah.
So that's when I was living in Tongan.
Yeah.
And so, things happened, and my mom was like, all right, I'm taking the kids, we're going back to the States. So when we came back, it was just my mom, me, and my brother. And so since my mom worked all the time, my mom has 10 siblings. So we kind of just jumped from sibling to sibling. And one lived in Oakland, another lived in Hayward. And then also my siblings, my older siblings, they lived out here across the bay. So I kind of jumped from like San Mateo, Hayward, Oakland, a lot of the time, until I found a stable place. Like until my sister took us in, and we were stable. So, yeah, I kind of know a little bit about almost everywhere in the bay. Yeah,
that's cool. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did that divorce affect you? Because 8 years old, you're probably old enough to figure out what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, how did things change for you when you finally heard that your mom was going to divorce? Like, what do you remember 8 years old? What was going through your mind when you heard your parents splitting up?
Yeah, so way back when, I was a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
I was super close to my pops.
Yeah.
And I just remember every time, like, I would always butt heads with my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I would always run to my dad.
Yeah.
And at that time, when they separated, I was mad. I was mad at my parents because I'm like,
You met both of them, or specifically, or just your mom, or like?
Both of them, because I was like,
why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am used to having both of you, and plus I was like away from my dad, so I was like, I don't have that person to run to anymore.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I feel as though, like, just for a couple of years it was like that, and then after that it was kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Like, what kind of feelings were you feeling, like, when that happened?
When that happened, well, at first, like, I didn't necessarily understand it, but now that I look back at it now, I could just tell you, I didn't understand why my parents weren't together anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like just not having that understanding made me confused or like angry that happened.
Yeah.
But when I look back at it now, I'm like, oh, it was good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but.
Okay. No problem. And then when you did that leave, did anything change about like how you see things from that experience? Like, did that change you as a person? The way you see relationships, or the way you see, just because like, I have some cousins that went through divorce, and some good and some bad. And I have one cousin, after that happened, like her trust in relationships kind of affected her because of that. So did you experience anything at all that kind of,
so
after experiencing that, as far as of how you see people, how you see relationships from that experience, or what do you think?
So for me, when my pops was out of the picture, the main thing for my home specifically is that we didn't have the priesthood in our home. And even at that time, our family wasn't really super active in the church.
Yeah.
We tried to go as much as we could. But I feel as though, like, going to church kind of filled that void, because a lot of the men at church were priesthood holders, and they were examples, like father figures to me. And so, because I had known them since I was little, so I feel as though they kind of filled that void for me, for my father not being there. So it hasn't affected me on how I, if anything, it has helped me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, everybody's experienced it, right? Okay. All right. Of course, what growing up as a kid, as you know, because you're full Tongan, right? All right. How was your childhood as growing up as a Tongan woman? Like, did you like what is your experience of growing up with Tongan parents in America?
Okay. Tongan parents in America. That's a good question.
I can make it easy for you, make it specific. Like, what do you think some of the positives and the negatives of growing up with Tongan parents in America?
I feel as though, like, okay. So I feel as though, like, a lot of times in the poly culture, like, we make fun of each other a lot, and we joke, like, you know, poly jokes are different from other people's jokes, you know what I'm saying? Fakata. And so I feel as though, like, you know, our humor is a little different, but like, whatever my family or like whatever we joke about, you know, it didn't really like phase me. Oh wait, hold on, let me rewind that. No, well, you know, we do have like poly jokes, you know, they can be harsh at times, or you know, you can cross the line or something like that.
That's the only way.
Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way. Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah. But like for me specifically, growing up in school, I would be made fun of
a lot.
A lot.
Okay.
And so. Was
it make fun of, or was it like low key bully?
It was low key bullying.
Bullying, yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it was low key bullying, and I feel as though, like, you know, I was made fun of at school. Then I would go home, and then there would be like harsh jokes.
Yeah.
You know, and like it kind of built me, I guess, as a person.
Yeah.
Because, you know, whatever my family say, be like, ah ha ha.
Yeah.
Jokes. You know? But then when I go to school, like, people make fun of me, like, it hurt, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I can take it. I feel as though polys think about that, like, a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel as though a lot of the things that I went through as a child, like, it kind of taught me, like, it doesn't faze me. Like, oh, you can make fun of me, but, you know, I'm more confident in myself that it doesn't affect me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it still did, when it first started, I mean, it did hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you went back home and what was your response? Like, what? Because when you went back home, you were looking for like comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Like because you know when you went, is that right? Like you get hurt at home, and then you want to go back home to like ask somebody so they can give you some like comfort because. Is that what you're saying? But that comfort you never received that comfort.
Well, I guess so. I never really told anybody about it.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
I mean, I just kind of like, I feel as though in a way it kind of healed me.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't angry or anything, because if you know me as a person, I'm very calm. Like.
Yeah.
And I don't like contention.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, although it hurt, it's just like, I kind of, in a way, since a young age, would we just take it up to the Lord.
Yeah.
From a very early on age, I learned how to pray. And so a lot of times when I would feel sad or I needed that comfort, I would always go to my Heavenly Father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you sometimes get depressed from it or no, not really?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me ask you, so you said you never told anybody about it, right? But did that you wanted to? But you didn't.
I didn't.
But did you want to tell somebody while you were going through it in school?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, my outlet was music, and also praying about it.
Okay.
Because in my home specifically, I feel as though sometimes when it comes to things like that, our voice isn't heard.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's you're not the only one that goes through that. I think that happens a lot.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's
That's
true.
a common thing that happens a lot to our polys.
Uh-huh.
Where we're not even comfortable talking about our own problems to our own parents.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your opinion about that? Like, why do you think that's a common thing in our culture, where as kids, like, we're not comfortable enough to express our feelings to our own family?
Well, for me specifically, I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, a lot of times, like, I don't know, when I feel like I'm going to express myself, or if I want to express myself, they hear me, but then they have their own little thing to say, you know what I'm saying? Or they, and it's like, yeah, we get that, but there's this, and it's kind of like, not necessarily cover up, but it's just like, it's brushed off.
Brushed off, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel when you hear that from
my family?
Yeah, from family. When it's something that you really want to express that's important to you, but then you just, you just brush it off. Like, how does that make you feel?
It hurts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you learn to deal with that? Through music?
Yeah, a lot of times, dealing with that and feeling that my voice wasn't heard, a lot of times I would sing some of my favorite songs, but change the lyrics to what I feel.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I feel as though music was my number one outlet.
Yeah.
Or I guess second to the Lord.
Okay.
So yeah.
The kids at school that were bullying you, was it own polys or was it from like other kids?
Other kids.
Yeah.
And polys too, but other kids. Mostly other kids,
Okay.
yeah.
How long did you do that?
Pretty much from elementary school to high school. If it wasn't one thing, it was another.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I actually was in the special needs program.
Yeah.
And so a lot of kids thought I was slower.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like, I'm just as normal as you.
Yeah.
And then going through middle school and high school, I kind of went through a tomboy stage.
Yeah.
So a lot of them like, what's up? Like, well, like,
yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And just this is the clothes I'm comfortable in.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just a lot of, like, I guess people didn't understand
who you were.
Who I was.
Did you know who you were at that time?
At that time, who I was, at that time I feel as though I didn't.
Yeah.
But when I feel as though as I've gotten older, I've been able to see that, like, get to know who I am personally, and be in tune with myself. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, so, I know you were mentioning, like, you got bullied a lot in school. So, and we just talked about self-identity, right? Because I feel like, as teens, that's the time we're trying to find ourselves.
True.
Because I feel like, in order to be, like, kind of be happy, you have to figure out who you are. So that, did you experience that, like, you know, you were going through a lot of pain because you're trying to figure out who you are, and you're confused because people are making fun of the things of what you were. So did you experience that growing up?
Yeah, yes, I did. There actually came a time where I questioned life.
Yeah.
And you know, as you know, I was born early, so I was like questioning the Lord, like, why'd you save me?
Yeah.
Like, for what for? If like nobody appreciates me here, like, why'd you save me? Is there a certain reason why you did? And so oftentimes I questioned that, and it just like that was always like a thought that came to me, like, why'd the Lord save me? Like, what do I have to offer? And so as a teenager, I went through that.
Yeah.
But what's so cool about that, when I would have those conversations with the Lord, like on how I was feeling, He actually answered those prayers. I know He did, through my patriarchal blessing.
Yeah.
Which is something I hold very dear to myself.
And how? And of course, you don't have to share your patriarchal blessing. But how? Like, what are the things that you saw of how the Lord? What did He do to you that started to help you in that process? Like, what are the things that the process of, like, how did you figure out to get out of it, to deal with it? Like, what? Like, can you talk about that?
Yeah. So you know, having that mindset, like, oh, why the Lord save me? And I remember one day, like, it really came to me, like, you know, I smile the most, or I feel good the most when I serve others.
Okay.
So from the time in middle school, I made a promise to myself, like, if I just get out of my own bubble, what I'm going through, and serve those around me, like, it will help me a ton more. And I think that's where I found my happiness. And if it was just picking up a piece of trash for somebody, or just like, you know, and I always complimented people because it made me feel good, like, you know, like noticing other people, or even as I grew older and out of it, every time I would see somebody in the corner that was alone, I would always go up to them because I knew how that felt.
Yeah. So, it's powerful. I mean, we always feel better when we help other people. I think one of my favorite quotes is, if you're trying to find yourself, lose yourself in the servitude of other people. And because whenever you help other people, you kind of forget about your own struggles because you're in the process of helping somebody else, and just seeing them smile helps you a lot. Okay. All right. So, so did you all, as you were trying to figure out self-identity, did you experience like comparison, like you were trying to figure out, like, always compare yourself to anybody? Did you go through that a lot? Because I feel like whenever you try to figure out who you are, then you're always kind of like self-comparing yourself to everybody else. Did you go through that a lot? Or no?
I you know, I actually didn't.
Yeah.
Go through that. If anything, like my struggles or whatever, like those things kind of built me as a person. I use those to build myself because I'm like, you know, all these people, they say these things about me, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna prove them wrong if I follow through with these plans that I have for myself. Okay. So I feel as though I used, like I said before, it fueled me to do better and to prove those people that, you know, I'm not like this, or, you know, and things like that.
Yeah. And do you see that a lot with, not only with yourself, but do you see that a lot with other people as well? Like, do you see other polys going through the same thing that you went through as a child? Like, you know, getting bullied or going through their own thing and people not listening to what they say. Do you ever have conversations with them about what they go through, or you not really?
It really depends on the person.
Yeah.
So like you, a lot of my friends do come to me as well, and they share their stories. Yeah. And so whenever they share their stories, it will remind me of something that I've gone through, and I'll share that little piece with them. You know, because that little piece that I went through will help them in their situation. And so I haven't shared my full story, but I've shared parts of it that could help those around them.
Okay. Do you feel like that's like that was the toughest thing growing up?
Not being hurt, or
not being hurt, or being bullied. Was that the toughest thing growing up in your childhood?
Yeah. Well, actually, there's another thing.
Okay.
So in my family, we were taught that education is key, and you know, our family always wants the best for us.
Yeah.
And so I feel as though in my family specifically, like I was raised by my mom's, or even mostly by my older sisters, because my mom was there, my sisters stepped in, and I got to say my sisters have very high expectations of me and my brother. I mean, I get it because they didn't have that support system growing up, but they were there for us and they pushed us. But some things, like, I mean, I love them and I love like what they have done for me and my brother, but sometimes the approach wasn't the one that I needed at the time.
It wasn't supported.
Yeah.
It's more like tearing you. Okay. When you say approach, like what do you mean? Like the conversations they had, or like pressure.
Pressure. There was a lot of pressure, because so for me at that time when my sisters were caring for me, I had just throughout all my elementary school I was in special needs, special education program.
Okay.
Then when I went to middle school, I tested out of it and I began to go to normal classes.
Okay.
And in middle school you have all these different classes.
Yeah.
And for me, I wasn't used to it.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to the workload. I wasn't used to like all these teachers. I was always used to having one teacher and then doing homework in class.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything to go home with.
Yeah.
And so middle school was a very, very tough time for me, and like it took a lot to get used to it and get my work ethic going in school, and see the importance of it, because I was like, oh, school is just another thing you go to every day, but like the way like my sister went about it, where she kind of went about it where like where she made me feel like you, I don't know how to describe it. Hold on, let me think about this. Her approach was, typical Polly. Like, oh, you're not turning us in? Like, I'ma thought you, or like, oh, you're late to class, like, before. The way she came across, like she would yell and thought me. And so in that way, it didn't really like, I didn't work well with that.
Yeah. It didn't like encourage you.
It didn't encourage me. It was just like
to do better.
Yeah. It just like, and then there came a time where I was like, because she would yell at me so often, like there came a time I'd be like, oh, she didn't yell at me today. Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, and it really, that's where like I feel as though like the depression came in, because I would question like my worth and things like that. So
you feel like her approach was more like putting you down than uplifting you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it right there. Yeah.
Okay. And so is that something they still push it up to today? Like, do they still expect you to be good in education? Yeah. And how's your approach now? Like, how's those conversations now?
I mean, now that I'm older, we still have like those conversations. Like, they want the best for us. They envision these things for us. But if there's one thing that I firmly believe in, is the gift of agency.
Yeah.
Their type parenting is more so like, it's kind of like your decisions are your decisions, but really they're not. Like, it's kind of like them making the decision for you.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's their plan?
Like,
what's their plan for you? Like, what do they expect out of you?
That I because both of my sisters, they have their master's degrees.
Okay.
They're pretty high in their education.
Yeah.
One's a nurse and another's a teacher.
Okay.
And you know, they were pretty firm on their education. But you know, if there's anything that I've understood as going to school's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and
also school's not the only way to do
yeah,
in life.
Yeah. And school's not the only way out.
Yeah, exactly. To make a life. Yeah.
To make a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, for me and my brother, we're kind of like, we've gone to school, but it's like we've kind of have our own path.
Yeah.
And so since we haven't like, I guess, got like lived up to that expectation. It's like, they're like, oh, what are you gonna do now that you're not going to school? Or like, I mean, I'm still gonna go to school because I plan to go into education myself.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to go to school and stay focused, especially at this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's hard about it?
So I can do most any subject. You know, I'm cool. But man, English is not my is not my like strength.
Yeah.
And I feel as though, like, at times when I'm doing assignments, I'm like, dang, is it really worth it? Like, or no, like, I always have to talk myself into doing it. Versus, I know there's some people who are self-motivated and things like that. But I feel like up until quarantine, like, when I first came back from my mission, I didn't want to go back to school. I wanted to take a break because I knew that, you know, going to school, there's a lot of academic stress and like there's a lot of emotional things that you go through. And so for me, when I came back from my mission, I knew that I wasn't ready for that. And I tried telling my sister that, but she's like, no, you're going to school. So I was like, okay. So I went to school and it was cool, but it wasn't, my heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
You know, I was just doing it just because my sister told me to.
Yeah.
You know. But now that I'm like in school now and I really know what I want to do, what my goal is, like, I'm in it now because I want to, not because.
And you're doing better now.
Mhm.
Like, for you, how was your grades when you were doing it with
your
sister?
Sure. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
Malo de thing.
So my grades were also like kind of going downhill also because I had gotten a job to be able to help my family as well at the same time. So.
Well, you said it yourself. Your heart's not in it.
Yeah. And plus my heart wasn't in it. Like, my education, like, back then, I put on the back burner.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, alright, I got church, family, work, you know, school was, like, probably the last thing on my mind. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like what you said, like, I think that's something that a lot of pilots, we all go through. Like, our family always has expectations of, they place upon us.
Yeah.
And they want us to fulfill. But as we all grow up, we learn that we're all different, right? So, so have you accepted that already? That you have your dad, like you said, you said you and your older brother have figured out that we have our own mind and our own path. So have you accepted that I'm gonna live my life how I'm gonna live? I don't care what my sister or my parents. Have you got to that point?
I feel as though I'm going through that process.
All right.
Like, because, you know, I mean, I'm figuring it out as I go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like it's tough to tell your family that this is what I'm gonna do.
Mhm.
You feel like that's tough for you to tell your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel as though if I'm going to be like, because I don't necessarily jump into like situations like that, or like kind of do, kind of don't, just depending. But I like to like prepare myself as well.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like it? Do you feel like would it be easier for you to do things if you feel like if your family understood that or no? In your opinion?
I feel like it would, and I totally understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause like, but then again, like for me, I'm just like, well, that's just what life is all about. Like you
Yeah.
have your learning experiences, you
Yeah.
know, and so like you have these experiences, you live and you learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I do go along this path, like, and I decide I don't want to go down, I'll take another path.
Yeah.
And so, but it's all about the experience.
Yeah.
I feel as though.
Do you feel like you're just gonna prove them? You're just gonna prove them wrong, or do you feel like one day are you gonna have that conversation with them one day? Do you feel like, or probably, no?
Well, I mean, like,
Because I feel like that's something that happens a lot, you know, in young kids, like all of us, growing up.
Yeah, I feel as though, like, for me personally, I feel as though I probably won't, because, like, my family are known for, like, it's either their way or the highway. Like, that's just how my family is.
Yeah.
So it's like, alright, well, I'm not going to tell you because it's just not going to change your mind.
Yeah.
So I was like, why just waste my breath?
Okay.
But I mean, like, it's not like totally off of what they want from me.
Yeah.
But it's what I've come to accept is that it's gonna be my decision.
Yeah.
My decision.
Okay. Okay. So they want you to go to higher level education, get a master's.
Mm.
Do they have a specific career that they want you to be in?
No. But for me personally, I want to become a special needs teacher.
Oh, okay.
Because in my perspective, that's me giving back.
Yeah. Oh, that's what's up. Okay. All right. So so you talked about bullying. You know, talked about your the divorce growing up. Talked about expectations.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I feel like that's something that's more everything you talk about. I think that's everybody experiences that as a man or female.
Yeah.
So what are what are struggles did you ever experience any Tongan struggles being a Tongan woman because you're specifically Tongan growing up? I remember I asked a couple people in the interviews like, do you feel like there's things that you go through as a Tongan because you're a Tongan woman?
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever experience anything growing up? Especially with the Polynesian culture tradition, a lot of things that there's different culture tradition for guys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your experience growing up, did you experience what's your experience as being like growing up as a Tongan woman, and then what are the things that did you go through, or maybe you just struggle with?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a struggle, but I think it's like a typical poly family.
Yeah.
So out of my mom's side of the siblings, there's 3 of us girls and 1 boy.
Yeah.
And so my brother, he's like he's like my best friend.
Yeah.
So me and him are very close. But I always joke around like, oh, although I'm the youngest, he's the princess of the family.
Yeah.
And I feel as though, like, especially in the Tongan culture, like, the moms would treat their sons like princesses.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so true. Because it's like, oh, my brother gets to do all these things, but why can't I?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he would always go out and hang out with his friends. I'm like, I want to go hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
But they'd be like, no, you have to stay home and do bullies. Like,
Yeah.
So, I feel like that was just one thing that I was just like, man, when I grow up, my kids, they all gonna have to do bullies.
Yeah.
They staying home. I ain't letting them go out. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
But, I feel as though, as, like, a poly girl, I feel that that's one of the main things I feel like that. I was like, you know, but anything other than that, I don't think so.
Okay. No, I could testify to that. We get treated more better.
True, it's all true.
You guys get treated like slaves. We're like princesses.
I know. I don't know why, but oh well.
Yeah, I think more here though in America. I don't think I think in Tongan it's different. Because in Tonga, like the guys, we had stuff to do. Like we had to do keiumu.
Yeah.
You know, we had to go to utang.
Yeah.
Like we had to go do physical work, physical labor.
No, that's
and then
true.
the women, they still did work, but they did inside the house.
Yeah.
We did the same amount of work, but it was just like outside the house.
Yeah. True.
So I think when you go up in Tonga, you don't really see that, but here
you see it a lot.
It's worse.
Yeah.
Like it's like 90% you guys do everything. We just chill at the crib.
Yeah, no,
and
that's,
we
that's
just
so
go
true.
hang out. Yeah, there's nothing. We don't have to do everything. It's modern now. All right, so I lost my train of thought. I have the question.
Oh, no, it's okay. No worries.
No, so so you talked about expectation. I know one of the biggest things I always talk about with I hear from poly girls, especially Tongan women, is like these expectations to be perfect, right? So do you feel that sometimes that as a Tongan woman that you have to be a perfect, like you have to be a certain way, act a certain way, in the eyes of your family, in the eyes of the community, or what is your experience with that? Because I remember Lini talked about that. I think she's in her interview. Everybody expects Tongan women to be perfect, and then and if you're not perfect, then it's like you're dishonoring the family. So
I feel as though for me that hasn't been a struggle.
Yeah.
When I said earlier that you lead by example, so. Actually, I'm one of the youngest out of all my siblings and even cousins throughout the whole family. But what's so funny is that a lot of times whenever my cousins, because a lot of my cousins are less active and things like that, and out of all my cousins, it's me and my siblings that are active. Or that are members. Because my mom's side, they're all Catholic. But it's so funny because every time my cousins, they achieve something spiritual, or they went to church, they always tell me. And it's so funny because I'm like one of my older cousins, she's a lot older than me. This one time she was like, Lini, I went to church today. And I was like, oh, that's good. I was like, but why are you telling me? And they're like, oh, it's because Lini, you're such a great person and you're the saint of the family. But I'm like, no, I'm not. Leave me alone. But I feel as though for me specifically, I don't feel as though I struggle with that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's different. It depends on the environment and the family.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're Mormon?
Yes, I am.
No,
Mormon. Wait, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of
LDS. LDS. So when you went through a lot as a kid, do you feel like did that also affect your spirituality and your relationship with God? Because you're going through all these negative thoughts, right? And because I feel like for me, spirit, I love God. I believe in God. I'm Mormon too. I'm member of Jesus too.
Yeah.
So my faith is part of who I am too.
Mm-hmm.
So my faith is tied to everything I do. Everything in my life is all centered around God. So, but I know sometimes when we struggle, that also kind of trickles into our faith, to weaken our faith a little bit, especially when just going through hard times. So, did you experience that where because you were suffering mentally, emotionally, that also made you suffer spiritually? Or was it? Oh, like I say, what's your experience with that?
one of the first things you learn as a primary child is prayer.
Yeah.
So I knew that prayer was very important, and so growing up and going through those struggles, through those experiences, like I knew I could talk to my Heavenly Father, like without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I think the foundation for me with prayer, I really seen it as a young child because, you know, me and my brother, we were members of the church, but also my mom's family, they're Catholic, and you know, in the Catholic faith, you have specific prayers for specific
the rosary.
things.
Yep.
Yeah, the rosary,
Yep.
and it's repeated.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, I memorized it in Tongan and English, so like I feel like from my experience in saying those, I didn't necessarily feel a connection like with my Heavenly Father, but when I like would talk to him like just from me myself, like one-on-one, I could really feel his presence.
Okay.
And so so I knew since from a young age that I could rely on my Heavenly Father. And it also helped during my parents' divorce that, my pops wasn't there for me to run to, so who else can I run to?
Yeah.
And it was always my Heavenly Father.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you ever experience because I know wars, and especially at wars, they're really, really tight.
Mm-hmm.
So then everybody knows what everybody's going through,
Mm-hmm.
right? Did you ever feel like that when you were going through your family issues? Did you ever feel like people were talking about it, or like like with the law and stuff, the criticism? Because I know that our church has high standards, and polys, they always trying to act like they're perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I know whenever one family slips or when there's drama, they always like to go with the law and always talk about it. So do you ever experience like that, just dealing with, not only you have to deal with that, but then you have to deal with what everybody else is saying about your family?
So actually, I did have to deal with that. So actually within the family too. But actually with my specific situation, I'm the only child that my parents had together.
Yeah.
So my mom has kids on, she had a previous marriage, and also my pops.
Yeah.
So a lot of sorry, I'm trying to word it all.
Good.
Sorry, I know it's long.
No. You get all the time.
Okay, so so my pops wasn't the best person in the world. But I still call him my pops because he was there for me when I was younger.
He was your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and the rumor has it that he got around a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of time, and my siblings, my older siblings, they didn't really like that about him.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I would hear all these things about my pops, oh, he did this, he did that. It was good and it was bad.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for me personally, because because my pops passed a few years back. Okay. I think a lot of it has to do or what it really comes down to is being proud of who you are. I think although you have these thoughts, I always be nah, that's Satan just trying to get to me, because he knows that my family is important to me.
Yeah.
But really, when it really comes down to it, just being proud of who you are, like no matter the circumstances, because everything happens for a reason, and there's always opposition in everything. So from the bad, there can always be good, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I know. But for you sharing that, and then I know it's tough because Tongans, man.
Yeah.
The Tongan judgment is harsh. Because like I said, like I mentioned earlier, like we have this, everybody just trying to be perfect, and then whenever people step outside of that, I think it doesn't matter, kids, dads, wives, husbands, it can be tough. So let's go into talking about your mission. All right.
Cool. It's my favorite part.
Good. So can you talk about like what inspired you to decide to go on a mission? Because I know, what made you decide to go on a mission?
Okay. So actually, as I mentioned before, my family were pretty less active, and it was actually through my sister. She actually would always drag us to church all the time, me and my brother. And there came a time when she was preparing herself to serve a mission, and the missionaries would always come over. And at that time there was like seven of us kids at the house, and it was like my nieces and my brother and I, and the missionaries were teaching them the lessons because they weren't members at the time. And I remember those elders, they would teach object lessons, and although you learn that stuff in church, like I didn't really learn that, so it was kind of like new to me. And because it was new to me, like the object lessons really helped me to for it to stick. And it was through the examples of those missionaries and also my sister that I was like, I want to be like those missionaries. Because each set of missionaries that came to our home, they had different talents. I remember one would sing, one would play the piano, they would just share their talents. I remember another one where he wanted to be a pilot, and he would when it came time, he would show us the stars and what they are, and
that's
so
cool. That's
cool.
Cool.
It was really cool. And I don't know, for me, I was like, I want to be like that. I want to go and share my talents with others, through missionary work. And I think that's where I grew a love for missionary work as well. And so I think from that point on, I decided that I wanted to go serve a mission.
Okay. All right. So you put in your papers, right? What did they assign you to?
They assigned me to the Salt Lake City Western.
Okay. So how was it going through the MTC for the first time?
So actually, I went to the Mexico MTC. Okay. And it was a really, really cool experience.
I didn't went there too. Where you shared that?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We always talk about it. But yeah, I went to the Mexico MTC, and it was a pretty cool experience. Yeah. When I got there, everybody spoke Spanish, but here at home we speak Tongan. Yeah. So a lot of the time I wanted to reply in Tongan, but it's like, wait, they don't understand that. So getting used to the language was a pretty big barrier for me starting off the mission, and then towards the end of my time there was some polys that would come in. They would try to speak Tongan to me, but I would reply in Spanish. Yeah. And it would be so funny. Yeah, and so but my time in the MTC, it was pretty rough because I had a really hard time with the language. Yeah. Really hard time. Yeah. But I remember specifically, it was getting towards the end of my time there, and my teacher had noticed, I wasn't being confident enough in my Spanish. She was like, you know a lot, but, you need to just go out there and speak. You can't be afraid. And I feel as though fear is one of those aspects that you have when doing something new.
Yeah.
And one thing she told me, she was like, she compared it to the scriptures, a story in the scriptures, where it talks about Nephi. And it's where the Lord commands him to build a boat. And she compared that to me. She was like, the Lord has commanded you to speak Spanish. That's what you're called to do. And I was like, yes it is. And she was like, well, the Lord commanded Nephi to build a boat. Did he know how to build a boat? He didn't. But he asked the Lord what he can do, and the Lord gave him the tools. And so she compared that to me. She was like, you don't know all that you're doing, but the Lord has called you to the work, and he'll provide a way for you to do it. And so that really stuck with me. And so throughout my mission, I feel as though when hard times came, like, it was like the Lord called me to this work, and he's gonna help me do it. So, yeah.
Okay. You still sleeping now?
Yeah.
Oh, you forgot.
I'm so rusty. I'm so rusty.
Can you say your favorite phrase in Spanish?
My favorite phrase in Spanish. What's my favorite phrase? I don't know. Jesucristo es mi redentor y salvador.
Oh, okay. What does that mean?
Jesus Christ is my Redeemer and my Savior.
Okay, still got it. You still got it.
Yep. I mean, I could say the first version.
Yeah. So you see, did you know what was your experience of going going on the mission the first time? Like, did you struggle? Did you struggle with anything? Because I know that I've interviewed some people that go on the mission. Everybody's experience is different.
Yeah.
You know, you're leaving because a lot of people that don't know what a mission is. If you're watching this, it's
yeah.
You leave our church. We send missionaries out there. They go serve. For girls, it's a year and a half.
Year and a half. So
year
18 months.
Yeah, 18 months, and you just go out there and to whoever they assign you. You just go out there and stay there for 18 months and serve, right?
Yep.
So, did you? How was the transition of going right into a missionary and doing the work? Was it natural to you, or like what were you feeling?
So actually, at the time, I was supposed to report. So you know how you have the missionary schedule. You arise at 6:30. You go to bed at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not follow that the week before I reported. So I reported to the MTC in November of 2017. Yes.
Yeah.
And around that time, it was the World Rugby Cup.
Oh yeah.
So I was always up late watching it.
Yeah.
And
I know you're a big rugby. You play rugby.
Yeah, I play rugby,
Yeah.
and also my family were big, especially my mom. We're big Tongan fans.
Yeah.
So I remember I would always be up like watching that. But when I reported to the MTC, I was always so tired because before it was like team no sleep.
Yeah.
But adjusting to the missionary life. For me personally, I easily adapt to situations.
Yeah.
I'm usually one to go with the role. So, for me, it wasn't that hard. For me, mainly my struggle was the language and getting up at 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person, so yeah, it was cool. Like, I really loved my mission.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things you learned from your mission that kind of like transformed you or changed you, or changed a part of you to be a different person when you came out of your mission? Like, what are the things you learned in your mission that kind of changed who you became as a person?
How did my mission change me? I feel as though when you're on the mission, I just lost my train of thought.
No,
It'll come back to me. Yes. So on the mission, you rely a lot on the Lord because it's His work.
Yeah.
And then I feel like as though when you come back from your mission, you feel as though that spirit or that same expectation of you has been lifted. But if there's one thing that I've continued on since being home, is truly relying on the Lord and knowing that He has a bigger plan for me. And then also, there's a lot of things on the mission. There's a lot of things that missionaries go through that they don't talk about.
Like what?
Like, because, so a lot of times on the mission, you know, you talk about, oh, you had this baptism, you had this, but the work leading up to it, or the daily encounters that you have with people. I feel as though for me specifically, I mean, anybody, you know, each mission is different, but specifically in Utah, you know, a lot of people know the church. They know about the church. And so I would remember just walking down the street and people randomly, like, just yelling outside their cars, like, oh, go to hell, or like, you know, and then, or like, they knew our message. Like, some people would know our message, so they would talk to us, and then they would put their own spin to it. They're like, oh no, like, it's like this, or things like that. Or sometimes, like, I remember, like, people would throw things at us. I remember doors being slammed in your face. Yeah. You know, it's that missionary life. Because you want to give them this treasure that you have. Yeah. But they may not treat it as...
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be naysayers.
Yeah.
The critics.
Yeah.
People don't believe it. Yeah.
Also, there's going to be people that will test you yourself personally. Yeah. I remember this one time I knocked the door with my companion, and she was actually somebody I was training. So she's probably like fresh on the mission, like probably 3 weeks into it, about a month. We knocked this door and we're inviting people to this cultural event at the church. And this lady, she must have been on something or something, I don't know. But I don't know, she was like, she just looked at us and she turns to my companion and she's like, you know, you're strong. Then she comes to me, she's like, you are weak. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Yeah. And I was like, you know, in the back of my mind, the natural man in me, I was like, you know, I can show you how weak these fists are. And, you know, I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna hold my tongue. Like, anyway, that was the natural man in me, but, you know, the other side of me, I was like, no, you have the tag on. Let us not do that. There's a lot of encounters like that. Like, where people would just, like, put you down. Yeah. Because they seen the name tag. Or, I remember, like, we would just be walking, and somebody would be watering their lawn, and, like, they would see us, and then they would stop watering their lawn and go inside the house. Yeah. You know? And I was like, dang, people really be scared of us like that? Like, but they wanted to avoid the conversation. Yeah. You know? So, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wait, did you ever say? So what was the biggest lesson? Or?
Oh yes, so sorry. Biggest lesson. That's what I was supposed to. Okay.
Yeah. So what was the things or lessons or principles that you learned?
Mm-hmm. So a huge lesson that I learned. You know, a lot of people say, or even your family says this to you, like, yeah, you have your friends, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have your family. But on the mission, you don't have your family. Yeah. So, yeah, you have all these people around you to support you, but at the end of the day, in reality, like, you always have God there. Mm-hmm. And that, I feel as though that was one huge lesson that I learned, that no matter what, like, my Savior Jesus Christ would always be there for me, to be there for me and to listen to me. Another lesson I learned was that faith precedes the miracle. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in that because in my last 6 weeks in the area I was in, it was a lot of the people we were teaching, they weren't progressing. They were just, they were just kind of there, and I had come to accept to myself that I would just plant that seed, and the missionaries that came after me, they would be able to reap the rewards and see them go through the waters of baptism. And I remember emailing my president that, and my president's reply was, Sister, the Lord will provide a way for you. So he said, just to continue with the work, and like you will see results of it. And so I kid you not, in that 6 weeks, like although we didn't really have anybody in line for baptism, we had 6 baptisms in those 6 weeks.
Oh wow!
And it was a really cool experience to be able to lead those 6 people into the waters of baptism, because they were all at different times of their lives where it was like, oh, I don't need God in my life. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, they were like, finally decided, like, I need Him. Okay. And so it was kind of a huge lesson. Like, if I put my mind to something, the Lord cares about me this much in order to proceed in that, because it's according to His will. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I know. Did you feel like was there anything that, because I know you grew up all the things you went through as a child. Mm-hmm. Did going on a mission ever heal anything? Because sometimes, like when I talk to missionaries, that the experience of going on a mission kind of heals the things they've gone through in their life. Mm-hmm. Things that they've always kept inside, but after the mission they finally find the ability to let it go and heal. Mm-hmm. So for you, did you experience that? Was there parts of yourself that you were hurting or struggling from just because of how you grew up, and then mm-hmm. the transformation of going on the mission kind of helped you heal through that? Mm-hmm. Do you have anything that relates to that experience?
Yeah. Actually, as polys, we're very closed off people. Yeah. We don't like sharing what we're feeling, and I feel as though in the first few parts of my mission, I never told my companion like what I was feeling, or like, but there came a time in my mission where I was like, why am I holding all these feelings? Like, why am I holding all of this stuff in? Like, and like slowly but surely, I would tell my companion things, and I think it was about halfway through my mission, I actually made it into a daily thing with my companion. I would call it confession session. We would just sit on the couch and just tell each other anything that came to our mind, and that really helped our companionship, because through those barriers that we broke, like, our community would be a lot more stronger, and we would be able to feel the Spirit a lot more. Okay. And so since I got used to doing that, like, I would always tell my companion, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling, I would always be open. Towards the end of my mission, I was a lot open about things. So I think in that aspect, it really did open me up to sharing things that I've gone through. In that aspect, I think it really helped me in that aspect.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What are the things that did you see other missionaries struggle with, on your opinion,
what they struggle with?
Yeah, because I'm sure, because every time I talk about, when I interview other people, they always talk about things, what they saw with not only themselves but also the other missionaries. Mm-hmm. So what were the things that you saw that a lot of missionaries struggle with?
Mm. So actually, that brings me back to another important lesson I learned on the mission. So, a lot of missionaries, they go through different things, in this time of my mission, it was probably the last few months of my mission, and so I lived with other missionaries, and so there was about 5 of us to one apartment, and there came a time where each of us were going through our individual trials.
Yeah.
So one sister, her family had just gone through a fire. Another sister, 2 sisters, they're feeling homesick because they're fresh off the mission.
Yeah.
I mean, fresh
On the mission.
on the mission.
Yeah.
Then there was another sister. She had just lost her sister
Oh wow.
from cancer, and so for me, my prayers were really, really focused on their needs, and at that time, like, I really gained the testimony of bearing another's burden. That's actually one of my favorite hymns.
Yeah.
But like being able to see their struggles, like it really was an eye-opening experience for me, because like I'm a firm believer that a lot of people are sent, like, or are given to you in your life to be able to help you through those struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another thing that I learned on my mission as well.
Okay.
And so being able to help those sisters through their like trials, like really gave me the strength, or it really taught me that God is evident in our lives. Even though all these bad things are happening, like He's very much evident in our lives, because through it all we can see the good as well.
Okay. Nice. All right. So, do you have any funny stories you want to share?
Funny stories from the mission?
Yeah, from the mission.
Oh,
any good moments, funny memories?
Funny memories. There's a lot. Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, give me the top one.
Top one.
The
Oh
one,
man.
Like something you would share to your kids one day.
It's not like super funny. Oh, there's so many, but it's not super funny. So.
But it doesn't be funny. It's just gonna be a great memory.
Yeah. Can I share 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is actually when my first. So coming from the Mexico MTC, I was the only one that was coming from there, and we usually go to Salt Lake in the evening time, and so our assistants to the president, they pick me up, and so usually with those missionaries, our mission president likes to eat dinner with us.
Yeah.
So we went out to dinner, and coming from Mexico, like all they speak is Spanish.
Yeah.
And so during dinner, I was telling my mission president, I was telling him my experience in the MTC, like it was hard and things like that, all in Spanish because I was so used to speaking. And then he goes, sister, sister, I don't know Spanish. And I was like, what? And I was like, you mean to tell me you don't know Spanish? He was like, yeah. And I was just laughing to myself because I just gave this whole guy a spiel in Spanish, and I felt kind of bad because he was like, okay, sister, you're so crazy. But yeah, he's super cool. And I just laugh at that all the time because like, dang. But that's one of my first memories out on the mission. Another time, it was during the summertime, me and my zone, we did a hike. It was at Donut Falls. And long story short, my companion got stitches.
Dang.
Yeah.
For what?
So basically, there's like this small pool of water or whatever, and it was hot that day. It was July. And so some of the elders, they were dipping their head in, so, to cool off or whatever. And my companion, she was like, oh, I want to do that too. But she had a heavy old backpack on. And I told her before the hike, I was like, you won't bring that? Like, you don't want to take out at least a little bit? She's like, no, I'll be good. So she goes to dip her head in, and the weight of the backpack kind of
Leans over.
Yeah, leans over, and so she
Falls in.
she went head in, and it wasn't deep. It was shallow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so she went head on with the rock.
Dang.
And like she had stitches, I believe it's right under her eye.
Wow.
Yeah. So good thing it didn't poke out her eye.
Yeah.
Oh, thank Lord.
Yeah.
But it was so funny because the next day, we were receiving my trainee, and so she was like, "Oh, what happened to your eye, sister?" To my past companion, and then so we both look at each other and we're like, "Oh, this one night me and her were tracking, and this guy tried to jump us, and so he tackled so he like punched my companion, and I tackled her, and she's like, "What? No way!" And it was just we were just taking her on.
Yeah.
And it was hecka funny, and so we went on with that story for like the longest, cause she thought it really happened, and then this one time in district meeting, my companion. Cause she was STL over us, and she was like, just randomly, she was like, "Yeah, you know that story where me and Vilingia got jumped or whatever? Yeah, that's not true." And then 20 minutes later, my companion was like, "Are you serious? That wasn't true?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Dang, you just now getting that?" But it was hilarious. It was, man, yeah, it's so funny. There's so many.
She's probably hot.
Yeah, she was very gullible, so
yeah,
we could do it.
She probably.
Yeah.
She blonde. No, I'm just joking.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yep, for sure. Oh my goodness.
That's a good. That's a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
So you finished your mission.
Mm-hmm.
How was your transition back home?
It was hard.
Yeah. What was hard about it?
Well, I feel as though on the mission, you have a purpose. You recite your purpose every day.
Yeah.
And I feel as though when you come back, it's like, I don't know, what do I do now? Like,
yeah.
This past 2 years or this past year and a half, I've been serving others.
Yeah.
So it's like, you still have that want to serve others.
Yeah. You're still in that missionary mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're still in the missionary mode, and so it's kind of hard to focus on yourself. Yeah. And I feel like that was a lesson that I had to learn. And so, coming back, I really had to find my purpose. Like, what am I to do for the future? Also, I was always used to having a companion.
Yeah.
So it was like, alright, I'm alone now, so it's like, it's kind of weird for me to go places alone. Now I'm like fine, but I still have my moments where like, oh, I need somebody with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, when you come back, like, I feel as though when you're on mission, you study and you study for other people, but like trying to do that for yourself, it's like, it's easy to brush it off.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a continual work in progress for me.
Okay. And so when you came back, it was hard to like get back to normal, right? The normal life.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Like if there's one thing that, like, before the mission, I used to binge watch Netflix like all the time.
Yeah.
But now I can't. Like, I could sit through a movie, but it's if I'm watching it with my family or with somebody, I can sit through it. But if it's just me by myself, I can't do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Like now, if you're looking back, how you came back from the mission, like what would you do differently to make it better? The process of
make it better. Actually,
cramp.
Oh shoot!
I paused it already.
You okay?
It's gonna cramp.
Is it your shirt?
Alright, so we were talking about the transition from the mission, right? Oh yeah, so I remember now. So looking back at how you transitioned, because you mentioned it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do differently? Like, what would you have done differently to make it better?
That's a good question. Actually, I feel as though I handled it pretty well.
Okay.
Even though it was hard,
tough. Yeah.
it was tough. I handled it pretty well.
Okay.
When you come back, you go through a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did is I had myself a little companion,
okay.
Which was my cousin Carmen.
Okay.
Well, like if you see her, you always see me.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Oh, so I've always noticed that you guys are always like twins.
We're always together. Yeah. So that was the very first thing I did. I made sure that I have somebody there with me. Yeah. Although she hasn't served a mission herself. She may not understand fully, but just the feeling of me just venting or just telling her how I feel, like, made it a whole world better.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right.
So I feel as though for missionaries they need that go-to person that they need to vent to.
Yeah.
Especially because, there's a lot of emotions that you feel when you come home.
I mean, it must be tough because you spend a year and a half of your life living a certain way, and then they expect you to just drop it and go back to like overnight.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
All right. So, let's talk about the YSA. You see, did you automatically join the YSA when you came back?
So the only time I said my welcome back talk in the home ward. Yeah. And then next Sunday I was in the YSA.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just went there. Did anybody invite you, or you just went there?
I just went there. I was attending YSA before my mission, so it wasn't that big of a transition. I knew that I would go to YSA.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
When I came back.
You already went there. Okay. So let's talk about being a YSA, part of the YSA. So what's your experience in the YSA? Being in the YSA.
thebomb.com on now. Not to bash out your YSA, but I got to say, hands down, I feel like we're the best YSA. But
you guys are lit though, I don't lie. You guys are fun. You guys are excited.
Yeah. I really do love our YSA. We all have different backgrounds and we all have different stories, but it's cool because it's a place where we all listen and we all, like, no matter who you are, whether you're a member or not, we're always welcome, and I feel as though that's like our second home. And we spend so much time together, it's like we're family, So, yeah.
Okay. Why do you think that, because I know the whole purpose of YSA is to invite more youth, young single adults to come, right? In your opinion, why do you feel like this? Because one thing I noticed, like a lot of YSAs, not everyone goes to YSA. Yeah. Even though it is encouraged to go. Yes. So most just stay at their family. Yeah. Why do you think a lot of young single adults don't go to the YSA? What stops them?
A lot of things.
Yeah. In your opinion.
A lot of things. I feel as though some may, the family ward may have trapped them and be like, you're getting this calling. So some of them have callings in their home ward where it's like, oh, I can't go to YSA. Or there's some where they're like, they have this view on YSA where it's like, oh, YSA is overrated. Or like...
What kind of views?
Like, maybe they feel like if they go, they'll be judged. Or if they feel like they go, they're like a little too much for them. Yeah. Or maybe a lot of them are shy and they're not necessarily down to like... Or I think the main one is like, oh, I don't know anybody over there. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not going to make that step if I don't know anybody. Yeah.
It's like high school.
Yeah. True. It is like high school. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about relationships and dating.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, what is it? good thing? What's your experience with dating relationships?
With me personally?
Yeah. Like what are like is it do you feel like it's being part of the YSA and of course the purpose of the YSA is to date, like that's what they want us to find your eternal companion and get married,
yes.
right? So what are in your experience, like what are the struggles of dating and
In
the YSA or being a Tongan woman or being in the YSA? What are the struggles you see that it's hard to date, or maybe because dating can be challenging.
I feel as though in our YSA specifically, we're all really close, like the family feel.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you do go to that next level, it's like, also the YSA, they're just like whatever is your business, it's also gonna be theirs. It's not like everything, but it's like, if they find out you dating this person, they're like, oh, like what's up with that?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's just like, we're all so close. It's like, we're gonna know eventually.
Yeah. You can't hide.
Yeah, you can't hide. You really can't. But remind me of the question again. I forgot it.
No, like what are the challenges of dating? In the YSA.
I feel as though in our YSA specifically, I feel like we're kind of like all related, but if we're not, it's like we spend so much time together. It's like we're so used to being buddy. It's like, all right, I don't know if you being buddy or if you trying to make more of it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel as though we get a lot of mixed signals.
Oh yeah, mixed signals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you prefer finding someone within the church, or do you doesn't matter? It doesn't matter.
I prefer somebody in the church.
Yeah.
But I'd be willing to give somebody a chance, like outside of the faith as well.
Okay. All right. What do you what are you looking in a guy?
What do I look for in a guy?
Yeah.
That's a good question. That is a good question. I'm more so of like a personality person. So, like, for me personally, like I don't judge you off for like first looks or anything. But once I get to know you, I feel as though once I get to know like a guy, I feel like that's where I tend to like be attracted to them.
Okay.
So I can say I definitely am attracted to guys who are goofballs. Because they're funny.
Yeah.
But also, like, they're funny, but also I like somebody who keeps it real with me.
Okay.
They don't have anything to hide.
Yeah.
And if they are a member or worthy priesthood holder, because I know that one day, eventually in the future, they could take me to the temple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't expect them to be perfect.
Okay.
A work in progress is just fine with me.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. What about as a trying to date as a Tongan woman? Do you go through a lot of challenges with that?
You know what? I really do.
Yeah.
Ever since being back, I kid you not, almost every conversation, like with all the OGs, they're like, "Oh, kofe o ka me ah." I'm like, very funny.
I know that happens all
yeah, there's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
like, oh, when you get married, because it's like, as a member, you have, all these things already set out for you. Like, you get baptized at 8, go on your mission,
and come back
come back and get married. But the only difference between those decisions and getting married is like, there's no age, like you don't have control over that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel as though. So I feel like being an RM and still single a lot of people they're like, all right, what's up with you?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Do you feel like does your family have any expectations of your relationships, of who you're supposed to date?
Oh yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, my mom could care less on, you know, as long as they're a worthy person holder and they treat me right, you know, my mom's fine with that. But I feel as though my sisters, they're more in specifically like, do they have a job? Do they go to school? Which is all good,
Yeah.
you know. But I don't know, like, do they go to school? Do they do drugs? Do they not?
Yeah.
You know, they have their little critiques.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it? Do you feel like you have to meet them, or you're just gonna pick your own partner?
I feel like eventually.
Yeah.
Like, because they are a part of me.
Yeah.
So it's like, alright, if you wanna love on me, like my family is a part of me. So it's like, but I've had to get to know you because my family crazy. So I will pray for my future husband. Pray for
future.
yeah. 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 But I think as I do get to know him and I trust whoever he is,
yeah,
I will bring him around the family.
Okay. All right, and for you, you just don't. I know. 'Cause sometimes as girls, like, you guys get a lot of pressure on to get married early.
Mm-hmm.
Do you sometimes feel that pressure, or no, not really?
Oh yeah, I feel it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the time. No.
Do people do OGs try to like set you up?
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Especially their nephews from Tongan. But I've already had my experience with Tongan, so I mean, it's not all of them, but it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, well, so when I went to Tonga, there was like heaps of guys that naithenga ke moa.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You feel like it wasn't like genuine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm such a people person, I can sense vibes.
Yeah.
Like from people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like it wasn't like serious. It was just like
or also I was like fresh off the mission.
Yeah.
When we went, so I was like, dude, I just got back. Like, I'm trying to take care of myself right quick. Like, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. Especially from America too.
Yeah. I
hear of all my cousins, like, they know you from America. Like,
yeah, no, that is so true. Like, people think I'm joking, but man, as soon as I stepped foot off that plane, oh goodness, yeah, it was something.
I know. So let's talk about milestones, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what kind of milestones that you have in your life that you want to share?
Milestones in my life.
Yeah.
I feel as though like slowly but surely during this interview we kind of touch base on each of them.
Mm-hmm.
With me, like working on like who I am.
Yeah.
And like who I am and like what's my purpose here. I feel as though that's definitely one of my milestones. Yeah. Another thing is like continuing to exercise my faith in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But one really big focus is probably like who I identify myself as.
All right. What do you think is like the biggest difference between you now and you like around at 13, like at 13 years old? Like, what's the difference between? Because I know you. Can you say you're a better person, you're a stronger person today than you were in the past?
You know what's so funny about that is there was a lot of things that I did in my youth years that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things I did, I actually surprised myself.
Like
so I'm like, dang, I really did that. Like
what?
a lot of things. So I just had a really creative mind. I mean, I still do now, but it's like I just forgot about the things that I accomplished as a teenager.
Okay.
Like there came a time because, although I was born and raised here, my freshman year, my family decided to move to Missouri for a couple of years, and we were out there for 4 years, and then we came back before my mission. And during that time, it was a really tough time for me because I was like, man, I'm leaving my home, the home I've always known, to somewhere it's like top Palangi people.
Yeah, Missouri.
I kid you not, it's the most Palangi people I ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was quite the experience, and out there I feel as though the Lord really knew I was struggling, because as soon as I got out there, like I got so many callings, and I was very involved in the gospel. So when I first got there, I was in youth committee, and in youth committee I kind of showcased a lot of my talents because I love to draw also, and so I would draw flyers for each of our events, or I was serving in those callings. Like it really helped me with the transition out there. I think.
Okay, so you talk about you have talents.
Mm-mm.
So like what? So you said you draw.
Mm-hmm.
What talents do you have?
So I draw.
You sing.
Yeah, I sing. Yes, I sing. I love to dance.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What other talents do I have? I don't know. I'm a people person, so like I'm very good with people.
Mm-hmm.
I like to listen to people's stories.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's, I don't know, I'm good with kids. I love, kids, man, they literally have my heart, because every time, like, they just melt me. They really do. They really do. Yeah. And sometimes old people, but sometimes they can be cranky, so it's like, I don't know, depends on who. You know what I'm saying?
It's good.
Yeah.
You like kids, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
So I had this question. Wait, whoa, I had it. Oh man, I had this question.
You forgot it.
No, I just had it.
It's okay.
Oh no, there it is.
Okay.
So you talk about purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your purpose now? Like, what's your drive? What motivates you now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
What motivates me now? What motivates me? Dang it, I just had it and it left. So recently, let me not talk about that. I don't know if, hold on, let me just wrap my head. What was the question again?
What's your purpose? You know what's your purpose? You know, I know you had a purpose in your mission, and that's that's a common thing I hear you bring up all the time as you explaining your life story. So what's your purpose now?
Okay.
So what drives you? What motivates you?
Okay, got it. What motivates me now?
Or you can just share what that they do.
You slide.
Open book.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, no, so, as you know, we're all striving to progress in this life. And so, recently I was talking to this guy.
Okay.
And a lot of the decisions I made with him, I always went to the Lord with.
Okay.
And long story short, it didn't end in the way that I would have liked. But at the same time, like, I also knew, everything happens for a reason. So I feel as though the Lord is kind of like, this is my trial of faith. Like, oh, like, you relied on me with this person. It's like, let's see if I take him out of the picture, will you still rely on me?
Gotcha.
And so I feel as though my purpose now is to truly rely on the Lord in every decision that I make. Whether it be big or whether it be small. Because if there's one thing I really, really do know is that the Lord is in the details of our lives. And He doesn't give us anything that we can't handle or that we can't overcome. Because He knows us best. And I'm truly grateful for this experience because it shows me that the Lord is mindful of me. And so my purpose now is like to always keep the Lord involved in the big and the small things in my life.
All right.
Because I know in the end, like, it will all work out.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So, did that guy break your heart?
Huh?
Did that guy break your heart?
No. No.
It just didn't work out.
It just because we started off as friends.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more easier.
Yeah.
But I will say he probably did take a piece of me.
Okay. Yeah. That's all.
Because I did put my.
Yeah.
I feel as though I put my heart and soul.
That's what all relationships, you are investing.
Yeah.
A part of yourself to another person.
And so I mean, we didn't like reach that relationship or whatever, but like I don't regret it.
Okay.
Because in the end, I learned.
No.
And I grew from it.
Okay.
So I take it as now that I've learned and grown from that experience, I can take those things and input it to whatever the Lord has in store for me. Yeah. Okay.
So we don't have to talk about him, but let's talk about guys in general. Let's talk about guys in general. So what are the maybe the difficult things now dating guys now? Like, what are the what's the as far as like when you try to build a relationship with somebody, what's the thing now? What's the things that you see, the common qualities that a lot of men that you find it hard to connect with men? Like, example, like say mixed signals, right? I mean, a lot of guys give mixed signals. They're not. So like, in your opinion, like, what are the things that the men that you see now dating in 2020 that's difficult to create relationships? It could be anything, yeah. It's just your own experience.
Yeah. So for me, like I mean, everybody's gonna have their criteria, you know.
Yeah.
What they look for.
Yeah.
And things like that. I feel as though mine is, it's not too long of a list.
Yeah.
But I feel as though, like, it's qualities that maybe not a lot of guys have. Or maybe they do, but I just don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I understand it won't be perfect.
Yeah.
But
Which qualities?
I mean, what I expect from a relationship or from, you know, that type of courtship, I expect if I'm gonna give 100%, like, I expect the same.
Yeah.
So
you want reciprocation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay, so that's something that you see a lot of guys don't do nowadays.
Mhm. Also, like, there's also this controversy, like, who should shoot the shot first. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, I'm just like, I don't know. If you feeling somebody, just go for it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
It truly doesn't. For me, it doesn't matter. To keep it 100, I actually impress more if a girl shoots her shot. I mean, I don't mind. For me, if I see somebody I like, I'll just tell her straight up. You know?
Yeah.
I'm from Tongan.
Yeah, right. Hey, that's what's up. No.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey, no, that's cool.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody's different. But I actually find it like, you know, it's pretty cool if a girl, because I know how hard it is for guys to even do that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't lie, it's tough, like, you know, to go up and ask somebody and get rejected. I mean, I know it's part of the game, but
yeah,
you know,
it's still,
it's still, you know, it's
your
part of you still, you know,
yeah.
like, damn. I mean, then you let it go. All right, back to the hard.
Yeah. No, for real. So it really be like
so
that.
like for me, yeah, you know, shooting that shot, for me that shouldn't matter, but yeah. But for you, does it matter to you who does it first?
It actually really doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shot my shot.
Yeah.
People have shot their shot at me, so it's like, vice versa.
Yeah. Are you the type to like are you the type to like just, are you nice about it when you reject people, or are you just like, nah?
So,
you know, some girls will be nice. I like it sometimes, like, you know, some girls are nice, you know, to reject you nicely, but some girls are just like hardcore, like, nah.
Like, it really depends. Like, cause I'm pretty straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty straight up.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on how you interpret it.
Yeah.
But if usually,
Yeah.
guys who shoot their shot at me aren't necessarily my type.
Yeah.
They really just aren't. or they slide into the DMs is like, what am I supposed to do with this? Cause I don't know you like that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm more so of an impression,
yeah.
you know. And so it's like I would tell him like, yo, I mean, I'm single, but that don't mean like
yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know. It just really depends. Like,
depends on the person.
Yeah. Depends on the person. But I mean, I'm open to anything really.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you prefer them to say it in person. In person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you shot your shot in person, or was just on the?
I haven't, but that's because it was long distance.
Yeah. Okay. So the shooting shot, that's one of the things. What else? Is that the only one?
Also, I'm the type to drop hints.
Okay.
I always be dropping hints. Always.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like some guys that don't have the conversation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, give me one hint that you would use. What's a common one that you would use?
I don't know. It depends on the person. Like, you see eternity in that perspective.
Yeah, like if you're just like you said, searching. If you're just trying to figure out, okay, which one do I want, and then you're just talking to, I think that's harmless.
Yeah.
As long as you don't give false hope and expectation to these girls. Or guys, girls do that, vice versa.
Girls are cruel.
So
Cruel.
So if you're talking to this girl, but don't give them promises.
Yeah.
Don't lead them on.
Yeah.
Just if you're just trying to build friendship with multiple people, so you can figure out, okay, which one I like. I think that's fine. But I think when people start making promises and leading people on, and then making commitments, that's when that's not that you think you should only do one person.
Yeah.
No.
That is true.
It's 2020. It's the age of social media.
I know. I know. A lot of people have asked me like, how is it in the dating life, like since we're all quarantined or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not about that life, so I'd rather meet you in person. Yeah.
That's cool. Just I think the last topic we're going to talk about like mental health. What's your experience with mental health?
My experience with mental health. I don't know where to start. I don't know. Mental health. I feel as though, like, going back to my purpose.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
But mental health, I feel as though has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Because from just talking about your story, you've gone through something mentally, right? So now today, so what's the difference between the person you are today and then the person that was going through those? What's the difference between you today and the former self? So if you had a chance to talk to that person, what would you say to your former self to help you overcome your mental health issues?
I'd say to you're not alone.
Yeah. I think that's powerful because I feel like people that go through mental, I've gone through mental health too. I've gone through my own stuff, but sometimes you have that feeling that you're the only one going through your own. Yeah.
Well, that's so true. Definitely that you are not alone, and that the Lord or God is always by your side. And to never forget that.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes when we go through those situations, we tend to forget that God's there because so much darkness is surrounding us. But if we focus on that light that God gives us, He will provide a way for us to get out of it. And I think that's an important lesson that I've learned each time that I've had those meltdowns or those times where I felt down or felt like I wasn't enough. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. What do you think, in your opinion, like something we could do as a community to? Because you know how mental health is viewed by our Polynesian community, right? We don't really think it's important or it's a priority or they don't believe in it.
Yeah, they don't believe
it's a waste of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Low PC.
Yeah. To go low PC. I'm like.
So, what do you think we should do as a community? What to help those that are going through mental health, this battling mental health, to make them not feel like they're not alone. In your opinion.
Sorry, I totally dozed out. What
do you, in your opinion, what do you think we could do as a community, as a Polynesian community, to help those going through mental health? Because nowadays you see mental health start young. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like it's getting younger.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I don't know. For me, I see it like you said. It's starting younger, and I see it in the younger generation.
Yeah.
And I feel like just being there for those kids,
Mm-hmm.
telling them that you understand like where they're coming from. I feel as though like a lot of times in our church we have our leaders, and in those times we trust them. And so I feel as though having that person to anchor you during those times, I feel like is a very good thing to have. But you know, that also like you can't always have that person there. You know what I'm saying? Or not everybody has that one person. Like for me, I mean I didn't have anybody there, so like I just for me I just try to be there for the youth, the upcoming generation, because I didn't have anybody there.
Okay, so just be there for those that is going through something.
And I feel as though like just you shouldn't sugarcoat anything.
Yeah.
But be there, and if you're there, like be there like 100% them, because they're trusting you with their story.
Yeah.
And everybody's story is important to be told. So I feel as though when kids open up to you, that's their way of trusting in you as an adult.
Yeah.
Or as somebody to lead and guide them through this time of their lives.
Like give them their full attention.
Mm-hmm.
That
they need. So
Yeah.
I feel as though a lot of teenagers or a lot of youth, they feel as though, we're going through this time of our lives. Like nobody pays attention to what we do.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go all out, whatever we're gonna do, go through this. But if they feel like you're listening, they will trust you.
Yeah. Or they feel like you actually care.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes kids feel like we don't care because we don't pay attention.
Yeah. Or they'll be like, "Oh, you're just a kid. You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
You know.
And then that sometimes spirals them into worse predicaments and decisions.
Yes, that is so true.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so I think we came to the end.
All right.
So last thing I was asking, so the purpose of Polynesian Stories is for people to power loving yourself. You're just here to share your story, what you've gone through, your perspective, your opinion of how you see things and things you've gone through your life. And the purpose of this is just to help those going through the same struggles. Because I'm sure you had a difficult and upbringing and past, but like you said, everything happens for a reason. Things happen in our lives so we can become stronger. So what's your last piece of advice or something you leave behind to all the audience members here that took the time to watch your whole story?
Yeah.
As crazy it may be.
Yeah.
So what's your last thoughts do you want to share with them?
It's actually a scripture.
Yeah.
It's found in 2 Nephi 31, verse. It's either 9 or 19. Can't remember. I should pull it out. Anyway, but basically in this verse it talks about how we continue on the covenant path, or we continue on this path, and the scriptures ask us, is everything that we've have we done everything that we needed to? Or and it says no, like we haven't, and it says that we haven't come this far just to get this far.
Yeah.
We still need to press forward and continue forward. And so, yeah, I've been through all these experiences in my life, but it has taken me this far, and it will continue to take me further. And don't be ashamed in your story. Tell your story. Because your story or your voice needs to be heard. If there's a gift that our Heavenly Father has given us, most definitely it is our voice, that we may be able to share our stories and share our life experiences, so that we may better uplift one another and enlighten. But that's my basic advice, or my last advice to each of these people. that you know, it's not the end. You haven't come this far just to get this far. You still have things to do, and God has greater and bigger plans for us. The question is, are we willing to do it, or are we just gonna sit on it? So that is just my simple advice.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's more to your life than your current situation. A lot of people sometimes, you know, when you go through hard times, then we become prison of the moment. We feel like this is all there is. So, got the vela, got the fire, right?
Stop. No, don't.
All right. So, one thing I always ask at the end of every interview. So, how do you feel with sharing your story?
How do I feel about?
As of right now, you just shared. you just shared a lot of things about your life.
I really did.
A lot of things about your life right now.
That's a lot.
So how do you feel?
You know what's so funny is when I was sharing all this stuff, I was like, dang, my own family don't even know this stuff. Like, I feel fine in it. You know, they're gonna find out sooner or later, or you know, up in heaven it might. You know, but you know, I feel as though I feel fine with it, because I'd rather it be told from me than from somebody else.
That's powerful. Yeah, I like that. I feel like, you know, by sharing your story, I mean, this is my experience, but I feel like it's like you indirectly heal yourself. Because for me, when I'm truly happy, is just when I'm just loving and confident, accepting who I am. Like, and I feel like I'm open. You know, like I'm open. Like you say, I'm an open book. Because I feel like if I'm not afraid, and if I'm not ashamed of my life or my story of how I grew up, then nothing can hurt me. I feel like a lot of people, where that pain comes is we're afraid of the things that we've gone through, or we feel ashamed, and so that creates like insecurity and fear. Oh, wait, if people hear about this about me, I might get looked a certain way. But I feel like, you know, our life story, you know, like you said, like, you wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't go through those things. You know, you went through as a miracle baby. Right? Like, think about it. Like, if anything changed, then you wouldn't be who you are today.
No, that's so true.
Same thing for me. Like, I wouldn't be who I am today. I'm happy who I am today. But I always have to remind myself, look, I wouldn't be who I am today, not because of all the good things that happen in my life. It's all those terrible and bad things that happened, but out of it, I grew from it. There was a lesson behind it I learned, and that kind of molded me to be who I am today. So I'm thanking God. Thank God, you know, thank you for putting me in this situation, because I'm glad I turned out to be this person. And like you said, there's still more to come.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's the whole purpose of Polynesian Stories. You know, we just want to let everybody know you can don't be afraid and ashamed of your story. Be proud of your stories, even though it may be awkward and uncomfortable. But I think there's a healing behind it if you learn to just appreciate everything you've gone through in your life. Right? And like I said, thank you for it was fun. It was fun. We got to hear some good stories.
Oh goodness. That's good stories.
Yeah, good stories. And anyway, anybody want to shoot their shot, you know,
Oh.
I'll make sure I'll tag her in the video.
Yeah, sure. For sure. Let me know.
But she prefers to meet in person. What's your address to the YSA?
No. Please.
Oakland YSA. All I'm gonna say. Oakland YSA.
Oh my goodness.
What if somebody pops up? Hey, I watched it.
Oh my goodness. I mean, they're fine to message me. I'm cool with that. Like, yeah.
Okay.
If I don't meet them in person, I would call them.
I know, like, if a guy does turn up. I don't know, you should give that guy props. At least some credits, some kudos. Hey, man, you took the time to come down here.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.